cows and other grass-eating species have a digestion system that emits methane. And methane is a very powerful greenhouse gas. And so cows alone account for about 6% of global emissions. And so we need to change cows, just cows alone.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. That introduction video that you just watched is our reaction video today. And I want to open up your mind a little bit to how the world operates and how insane some of these people who consider themselves rich can actually be when they make you think or believe that they are actually coming in to help the poor countries with their aid, with their donations. You must be very keen of what they are doing, because remember, for somebody to donate something to a country, that which he is donating has to be consumable in their own countries. Now, this is a gentleman who has produced or given us antiretrovirals, has given us fertilizers, GMO seeds and all that, which we'll talk about. But some of these things are actually banned in those countries where he hails from. So then I fail to understand how then does he come and try to implement these ideas in our country. Now, remember this. If you're a Kenyan, his foundation was actually awarded a privileged special status. You remember that about 2 months ago? That now he can actually operate in our country with no intentions of responding to whatever is going to be questioned. That is my interpretation of that. But however, his intention is well known because he plays a lot of roles in agriculture, in medicine, and these technologies. So I want us to listen to what he has to say, and then we can actually react to it.
A large part of the carbon we have in the atmosphere now is caused by the electricity grid, which is about 25% or so.
Exactly.
So 24%, it comes from agriculture and forestry. Why is that causing such a big increase in carbon?
Cows and other grass-eating species have a digestion system that emits methane. And methane is a very powerful greenhouse gas. And so cows alone account for about 6% of global emissions. And so we need to change cows, just cows alone.
How are we going to do that?
Well,
so just listen to that nonsense. That cows amount up to 6% of the amount of methane that is released into the environment. But this is my thinking, that natural sources of methane, they account up to 40% of the amount of methane in the atmosphere. Natural sources, cows being part of that. Human-made sources, 60%. Already we are starting to see the sense here that the human-made sources of methane are amounting higher than the natural sources of methane. Let me take you back. Let me just introduce this topic for methane and where this conversation is actually coming from. Number one, methane is a combination of 1 carbon and 4 hydrogen atoms around it. So the CH4, that is methane. And this gas is actually one of the most utilized gas on this planet or on this surface of heaven. One, it is a fuel. And this fuel actually in industries, it serves in electrical companies, in cooking at home, in heating. Methane is playing that important role there. Also, it's used in vehicles. Now, methane is actually used to power vehicles because it is actually known to reduce or to actually produce or emit less carbon into the environment as compared to gasoline and diesel. Therefore, vehicles that are actually using methane are actually saving this. And you've seen it in Kenya. There are vehicles that are the Uber guys that are using the gas, which is basically methane. So it's used in a lot of things. Even in our homes, we have biogas that's actually used for cooking and used to power our systems, our lighting system and electricity in our homes. That is methane. Our cooking gases are filled with methane. And therefore, it is a very essential gas. However, I want you to see this. The sources of methane, I've already told you that 40% is from the natural sources, cows being part of it, and then 60% is from the human-made sources. So these are the sources of methane. One is the wetlands. That is part of the natural sources, right? And this covers is actually the largest percentage of the methane. One is the oceans, the seas, the lakes, and most importantly, the wetlands. Do you see the rice fields where rice is grown? There is this water that is always soaking on those grounds. Now, this provides an environment for microorganisms to actually decompose organic matter under low oxygen levels. On the surface of the lake, on the surface of the sea, on the surface of the ocean, we have a lot of bacteria, a lot of microbes that are actually constantly consuming organic matter under low oxygen levels, because at that level in the ocean, at the sea level, there is very limited amount of oxygen. So these microorganisms are actually doing anaerobic decomposition of organic matter to yield methane. And that is the largest percentage of methane in the environment. Now, number 2, termites. Again, because of low oxygen levels where they live, where in those ant hills and all that, they produce it. Number 3, volcanoes. Number 4, oil production. And this actually amounts to another largest percentage. And some of these people have invested in these oil farms or oil plantation, oil plants to actually produce oil. And this is actually happening most in the Arab countries where they are producing a lot of oil and oil products. So they are emitting a lot of methane into the environment because sometimes it leaks into that. And then biogas and biomass. You've done it in your home. You have a biomass in your home, biogas in your home. That is actually methane. And then industries. But most importantly, jets and private planes. Jets, planes, private planes, and all that. And vehicles. They emit methane as they burn the jet fuel, the gasoline, the diesel, and all that. So they emit a lot of carbon and methane into the environment. Now, to say that cows are giving us 6% of methane in the environment, and therefore for us to ease up on the load of methane, we need to change the cows. This is somebody who sounds insane to me. Remember this, that this is the gentleman who has brought in the vaccines. This is a gentleman who has brought in the COVID vaccines that people are still suffering from the side effects of these vaccines. They sold us the fear through the media, and then they brought COVID vaccines, and people used these COVID vaccines, used booster shots, and they did not take responsibility. The pharmaceutical companies that he invested in to produce these vaccines did not even roll media interviews until after they had made their billions of dollars in terms of revenue and profits. Now they came back and said, you know what, we apologize. Our vaccine has been a problem. We understand that it came with side effects, but we apologize. It's time for us to withdraw it. Imagine that. After all our parents, all our people had consumed a lot of vaccines in the fear. Even governments came in to warn our people, telling them that if you don't get the COVID vaccines, you will not travel, you will not access government offices and services. And then here we are. Then the same person who is totally obsessed with the population in Africa in the next 30 years, that he has to bring in all these hormonal contraceptives for African women. And now African women are getting into these contraceptives without asking questions. Because of course, again, our governments are being used to actually lure our people into these pits. Our politicians are worshipping money. But the unfortunate part is that they are a representation of who we are as a people. Evil people. We are evil. And we've elected evil people into offices, and now they're just turning against their own. So they worship money. That's why they will pass bills without even considering public participation. That's why they'll sit there and pass bills in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and they are so happy because they are reaping so much. And then the stupid idea for them is they will ferry their children from this country to South Africa, to all over. They will invest outside the country thinking that they will survive this. But this is a wave that is coming to sweep all of us. Health is universal, coming to sweep all of us. So from COVID vaccines to hormonal contraceptives to now GMO seeds and the agricultural technologies, the new technologies in agriculture that is actually bringing in, getting to Kambani to train people on how to farm, so that they can actually know how to plant these GMO seeds. Now, we used to plant corn or maize, and then after harvest, we take those seeds, we put them aside, we dry them differently, and we use them for the next planting season. But nowadays, you don't need to do that anymore because you don't have those seeds. They have disappeared. Our cultural seeds have disappeared because of the influx of GMO in the name of improving productivity, improving production so that people do not go hungry. So they come in with this quoted agenda that, you know what, we are coming in to help Africans not to go hungry. We are coming in to increase food production. And then they bring us all the fertilizers that are so prohibited. They bring us pesticides and herbicides, which are very toxic from those companies that you know. They bring us all these seeds that cannot even regrow. They are GMO and genetically modified. And now we run and buy these seeds. We plant them. Yes, we will get the produce, but these seeds cannot even regrow. They are modified. And then where are our seeds? So therefore, are we really targeting increasing productivity or production, or are we targeting killing our people at the expense of these people getting richer? So he brought in the GMO seeds, he brought in the fertilizers and pesticides, and our government just approved GMO just like that. Without us even asking questions, we are now clapping for them. As they come for the rallies, we are clapping for our politicians. So we are making them actually know that they are over us, they are above us. Now, before we even settled on GMO seeds, we have been slapped again by the media advertising livestock vaccination. Our livestock are now being vaccinated in the villages. Those zebu animals are being vaccinated with the mRNA vaccines. Who knows what is going to happen next to those zebus? How about 10, 15 years from now, we will not have these zebu animals? And from this video that he's going to post, you will hear him saying that he's actually considering printed meat, artificially made meat. So who knows, in the next 10, 20 years, we will not have our own goats, our own cows, our own sheep. And now we'll have to rely on their companies to actually buy printed meats and artificial meat. Imagine that. Are we thinking? Anyway, as if that was not enough, we are still sitting here thinking about vaccinating the same animals. Now he comes in with an agenda. Oh, you know what? These cows are the ones that are responsible for 6% of the methane that is emitted in the environment. And this is going to cause climate change. I have never been an advocate of that climate change agenda. Oh, they are going to emit methane that is going to cause problems with our climate. So it's going to actually increase temperatures. And the idea is that methane is 100% more potent. They are actually saying 80 to 100% more potent than carbon dioxide in terms of retaining heat. So it retains the heat in the atmosphere, and now temperatures will start going up, and that will affect climate. So that is what they call climate change. But did you know that carbon dioxide actually does the same purpose, does the same job? And carbon dioxide is emitted by us, is emitted by animals, is emitted by plants and all that. And plants we actually regulate it. Plants can take it, we take it out, plants take it in, we take it out, animals take it out, and plants take it out in. So it's a natural way of actually the environment regulating itself. Just the same way, the same animals that are emitting methane, there's a way that this methane will have to be utilized in the environment. So how then are the cows a problem in methane, in climate change, so that now we have to change the cows? So before we even settled on the vaccines, he already produced and invested in production of animal feeds for the same animals that we are vaccinating. Animal feeds that will actually help these cows not to emit more methane. So, not only are we vaccinating them to destroy them, we are going to feed them with something that is actually going to actually reduce their rate of metabolism and all that, and now we have low methane in the air. Now, just sit back and see. That will not be enough. Something else is coming up. But I know, most of you know, whatever came out of this. All these things have been coming in stepwise. Look at it this way. There was a time in Kenya where people were lining to just be taken images of their eyes, and they were being paid. And then the government came in and warned and banned that, and then a little bit longer. They took a little bit longer, and it was back. You remember that thing where people were lying in at KICC to just get their their images of the eyes taken and all that, the data? That is a problem. We were submitted to a lot of pressure during the previous regime to take something called Huduma number. Do you guys remember? Have you used it? Did you even find yours, the Huduma number? Do you remember? Crickets? Now, as if that was not enough, so that just went like that because the previous government went. And now, there is something that is called Maisha number. Before we even sit down, now we are being explained to by our own, that you know what, our own president is actually telling us, oh, there is now something that is under test that is called the digital ID. That you'll not have to work with papers or plastics anywhere. You'll only need a fingerprint or the image of your iris. We need your iris. So they're actually taking your data. And if you are sharp, if you're clever, if you listen and watch keenly, please, anybody who is taking your fingerprint and anybody who is taking your eye images or eye details. Ooh, the iris, please be very cautious. So they are telling you that this is a digital ID, and this is an agenda that is pushed by the same gentleman who has been accorded the privileges in Kenya. Is pushing the digital ID. Just sit back and see how it unfolds. And sometimes I tell you guys, if you want to avoid a lot of these problems, stay away from the media. Just don't listen to the media. Don't watch news, because they will make sure that these things sink into your head through news. They sold you fear during COVID season. You bought the fear. They brought you the solution in terms of vaccines, and we bought that. Our favorite Minister of Health was always on television every 3 p.m. selling us the fear by reading those numbers of new people. People who even died from diabetes and malaria were now documented as COVID people. And he read the statistics because, of course, data is needed. But anyway, that's a story for another day. So, digital IDs, vaccination, GMO foods, hormonal contraceptives, and now vaccinations of livestock. And now again, feed livestock with this type of food so that they do not produce this. And he actually says clearly that, you know what? I had the idea that 5 years ago we should be already now printing meat, making artificial meat. And then he's asked, and you will see, he's asked, do you enjoy it? And then he says, oh, of course, of course. So what are the benefits? Are the benefits for the environment or for the people? He says, oh, you know what? Of course, minor benefits here and there, low cholesterol. But we know on this channel that cholesterol is very important. So remove that cholesterol issue there. What next?
Well, actually, of all the categories, the one that has gone better than I would have expected 5 years ago is this work to make what's called artificial meat. And so you have people like Impossible or Beyond Meat, both of which I invested in.
You eat it as well, and you like it?
Absolutely.
2 companies which he has already invested in to actually produce artificial meat. Where from? So kill your animals, give them vaccines, feed them with bad foods, let them die. And now we are providing a solution. We have printed meat here. We have artificial meat. Okay? See, we told you your livestock need to be vaccinated. We apologize that they are all gone. We apologize they cannot reproduce. We apologize for that. Now, don't worry. We have a solution for you. And the solution is here. We are printing meat. It is artificial. And he's asked.
People like Impossible or Beyond Meat, both of which I invested in.
You eat it as well, and you like it?
Absolutely.
You do.
You can go to Burger King and buy the Impossible Burger.
All right. Is it healthier for you or just healthier for the atmosphere?
It's slightly healthier for you in terms of less cholesterol. It's, of course, dramatic reduction in methane emissions, animal cruelty, manure management, and the pressure that meat consumption puts on land.
So it is fair on animal cruelty. It reduces cholesterol levels. And most importantly, manure management. What does that tell you? That our ways of actually making fertilizer, the manure, are being fought. So no manure, please. Do away with this manure that you're actually emitting methane through this manure. Stop using that. Here is our fertilizer. Please use it. Here are genetically modified seeds. They are going to improve your productivity. Here is a vaccine for your livestock. Here is food for your livestock. And all that is because I am a very good person. Oh, you know what? I am rich and I am a very good person. I have all this charity that I'm doing, and I'm doing this charity to Africans. Things that he cannot do in his own country. In the United States, there are people who are homeless. There are people who are suffering. They need food. They need that productivity. They need that production of food. They need those fertilizers. Farmers there need those fertilizers. How then is he so sure that Africans need this? That Africans, we are unable. We did not even ask for the aid. But he will push his agenda until it's hard. Because he uses our evil politicians to actually manipulate our emotions. So as you sit there and you say, oh, you know what? This is my best politician. You are going to suffer. You are going to die a slow death. Pesticides, fertilizers, GMO foods, and all these things, vaccines that are going to bring us new conditions. We are wondering why cancer is on the rise. And then, of course, they will bring us solutions in form of chemotherapy. And as they do that, they are giving our women hormonal contraceptives to prevent birth or to actually control population. So they will do everything to actually make sure that the population of African people is not going up. Because when you have human resource, everything is possible for you. And Africa is a land that is rich in minerals. It only needs human resource and people who are thinking, not people who rely on evil leaders, not people who actually glorify their tribes and their politicians, who end up using people like this to actually mess you up. Stay open-minded. Let's finish this up.
Need to increase the agricultural output over the rest of this century is not the population increase. It's that as countries get richer, they eat more meat. And meat is a very inefficient way of creating calories.
So baseline, meat is a very inefficient way of creating calories. So you don't need those animals. But you need my printed meat. Remember, I have invested in, and you cannot run away from it. I must make sure that you consume it so that I continue being rich as you continue suffering, so that you keep on begging and praying and going down on your knees to actually pray to your master. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is so unfortunate that that is the situation that we have in these countries. But we can have people who think, we can have people who have individual thinking, and they don't rely on group thinking. They don't rely on politicians. We can actually challenge them. So anytime you're thinking of not eating meat, you're wasting time. Eat meat. Anytime you're thinking to just drop that manure and go buy fertilizers, remember manure is the best fertilizer. Anytime you're thinking that, you know what, pesticides are the best, those bought pesticides are the best, use ash. Very important. It's a very good pesticide. Anytime you're thinking that you need to vaccinate your zebu animals, remember those animals have been there for the longest period of time. We've had animals all through. They have survived harsh environments, droughts, rains and all that. They never needed a vaccine. They will not need it now. Anytime you're thinking of GMO seeds, remember that we had our own seeds and we need them. This is the moment we need them even more. Anytime you're thinking of relying on these people for aid because they are so good people, they are charitable. Charity is something that actually is for the cameras. So please, you can do better. You can do better. Let's preserve our own. We need our own ecosystems here to just work. Let's preserve those ecosystems. And anytime you're being pushed for something, you're being forced into something, just know the agenda is wrong. So if somebody comes to you and forces you to produce the details and all that, remember the agenda is wrong. If somebody is pushing the agenda of seeds to you and trying to teach you new ways of farming, the agenda is wrong. They're coming in with a very good idea of selling you the idea that, oh, you know what, this is us, this is the best part about us. But you know what? Be very cautious. Think twice. Please stay away from the mainstream media. And thank you so much for sharing these types of videos so that we can actually react to and open up the minds of our own people. Continue sharing them. And we encourage you to actually put your views in the comment section. We take them so seriously, so we actually make reactions on them. Ask those questions, we'll answer you. Make sure that we move as a team. We start with one person and we save one other, we save another, just one person at a time. We will get there. Health is universal. Health is our first wealth. So therefore take it seriously and let's keep on shunning the evil like these people.